Right.
Remember to press the microphone button. Okay, it is Thursday, October 17th, 2024 at 7:02, and we're here for the meeting of the agendized meeting of the Policing Commission for the City of Albany. And I believe our first order of business is the roll call. Is that right?
Yes. Member Dupuy?
Here.
Member Johns is absent. Member Locke?
Present.
Member McQuay?
Here.
And Chair Downs.
Here. All right, seeing a quorum, we'll go ahead into our meeting. Our next is a land acknowledgement. I think I've been calling on others to do this, and in the spirit of shared work, I'm glad to do it, but if somebody's eager to do it, I will prevent them.
I'll do it.
Go for it, Commissioner Dupuy.
The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lejeune. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Albany tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Dupuy. I think our next item of business takes us to number 2 on the agenda posted on the city website, and that is the approval of minutes from the July 18th, 2024 meeting. Does anybody want to take a minute to reflect on whether they have any suggestions? And then after a moment, we can hear a motion.
I'll move approval.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, seeing no discussion, it's my judgment we're ready to move to a vote. Unless anyone objects, do you want to do a roll call? I forget.
Yes.
Member Dupuy? Sorry, I didn't have my mic on. Member Locke?
Yes.
Member McQuay?
Yes.
And Chair Downs.
Yes. All right.
Motion passes.
The motion carries and the minutes are approved. Appreciate city clerk's work in keeping the minutes and the records. Item 3 is public comment. For persons desiring to address the advisory body on an item that is not on the agenda, please note that each speaker is limited to up to 3 minutes. The Brown Act limits the Commission's ability to take and/or discuss items that are not on the agenda. Therefore, such items may be referred to staff for comment or to a future agenda. I see we have one person present, and you want to, I assume you're there because you'd like to be heard, Jeremiah.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, looking at your agenda is kind of sad because it looks like the only real thing you have on the agenda is to vote for a vice chair. That's sad. This commission was formed, a lot of input, and it's like, it doesn't even seem like you're working on anything. There's nothing on the agenda except for who's to choose for vice chair. Wish you guys would work on something. Have something on your agenda. Monthly report, oh yeah. Anyway, I want to give this to Ann. This is 5 public records requests for Albany case number 22-538. And I'm a witness on the case. My name's on there. I was called last week from a gentleman from Golden Gate Fields, which is now formerly known as Golden Gate Fields, which is now as Pleasanton, wanting to talk to me, settle out of the media, off record. Jane Doe's supposed to show up here tonight with her mother. She was abducted and kidnapped at the Albany Target in April of 2022. Albany Police has video footage collected from Target of the guys following her around in there, approaching her, abducting her in the parking lot, taking her to Golden Gate Fields in the Horse residential area. Had their way with her all night, multiple men, She fled with a sweatshirt, and inside the sweatshirt was a passport. She called me the following day asking for help. I turned the passport over to my contact with Homeland Security through U.S. Customs at the Port of Oakland. They ran the passport, it was counterfeit. Albany police did a lateral investigation, they did a raid. These guys were arrested. Where are they? Where's Jane Doe's day in court? They were deported. She never saw her fair day in court. That's what happens with illegal immigrants when they get something bad happens. So please do your own research, 22-538. The media is well aware of this, and they're contacting city officials.
Thank you, Jeremiah. We appreciate the comment. Is there any sign of comment online?
No, they're not.
Okay.
Can I add one more thing? I'm sorry. I have This is the stamped file that I just received from the police department. Stamped filed public records request, signed by Jane Doe herself. Signed by Jane Doe herself and myself as a witness. Stamped filed. These are public records requests. It'll be interesting to see if she gets her own records, because why would the police not give records to the media unless they're hiding something? If they're not hiding something, just give the records up.
Thank you, Jeremiah. So that concludes public comment. On item 4 is announcements. First, staff announcements, and then Commissioner. Do you have any?
I do not have any announcement right now.
Okay. Commissioner announcements. I've reached out to several people both at the school and in the community about applications for the vacancies, so that we can, more directly function as a body. And I'm aware of at least I've been told of at least 1 or 2 submissions. So I'm hopeful that there are, a whole slew, and hopeful that council will act. But as of yet, council has not appointed anyone. Is that right?
Correct.
So it's certainly open for more applications. Obviously, the application would just be to the end of our term, though theoretically, council has the power to act beyond that. The next council would have the power to extend people if they wished. So encourage people to keep circulating those. Any other commissioner announcements?
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there a date after which the council does not appoint due to the upcoming end of our term?
November 1st.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioner announcements? All right. Informational report 5-1 is the police department monthly dashboard. We have it in front of us. Do we want to take, is there anything you want to add to the material in front of us?
If you guys have a question, I'll note it down and
Okay. All right, why don't we take a minute and examine it, and if anybody has questions, you can see that we have June, July, and August and September as you turn through the pages. Let's give us a minute to do any kind of comparison you'd like, and then if people have questions or observations they want to note, we can make those.
The only thing I'd like to point out is that there's still the 1 complaint year to date, and to my knowledge, we've yet to get any information or details regarding that complaint. And I'm still very curious what that was about, and have concerns that the police department was the one that got to determine whether it was something we got to examine as a commission. So that remains a concern for me.
I don't think that's exactly right. Did you see the memo from the city attorney several months ago on what complaints are disclosable? I believe it was in, help me, maybe July. It was an attachment to our agenda.
think the complaint, if I remember right, is from March. It's possible it was April, but.
The memo is dated July 15th. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay. Yeah, the memo. And we discussed it at our prior meeting when we sent our request to council to be heard on differing interpretations of what role the commission has. So, and as of yet, we have not been put on the council agenda, is that right?
For the recommendation?
Yeah.
Correct. Has been forwarded, and if there's any update, I will definitely share with the commission.
Any other observations or questions from the dashboard? All right, seeing none. Appreciate the updates on the information and the ability to compare across months, and also did not myself, while there's some variation, it seems to be in a sort of normal range of variation. So the only thing I noted was the continuing complaint from earlier in the year. Item 6 is presentations.
We don't have any.
Okay, we do not have any presentations. Do you have our record of request from the prior meeting for topics for presentations?
I have a list, but not.
Okay. Do you mind just restating it in case that triggers anyone's, desire to add anything else?
I don't have it.
Oh, you don't have it? I thought you said you had it. Okay.
I do, but
Okay.
I don't have it here
Okay.
right now.
All right. But you don't need those restated as requests from the commission?
I'm sorry?
You don't need those restated as requests from the commission? The ones that we've made before, we don't need
Right,
to
I
restate it?
have them in
Okay.
my notes from prior months.
That takes us to item 7, discussion and possible action on matters related to 7-1, election of vice chair. So we have a vacancy. One of our vacancies is the former vice chair who's moved out of the city. So we now have the opportunity to elect a vice chair for the remainder of this term. Do you want to review the process for election? Do you mind, City Clerk?
Basically, anyone on the commission can make a recommendation, including recommending themselves to be the vice chair. There's no second needed. We'll start voting on whoever gets nominated last and work backwards.
Right, so each vote will be a yes/no, is that right?
Yeah, and whoever gets quorum, which is meaning everybody here, will be voted in as the vice chair.
So they need not just a majority of the present, but a majority of the board, is that right? Just to make
Correct.
sure we're all in agreement. So
Correct.
we need 4 votes.
Correct.
All right, are there nominations, including self-nominations? Nominate Commissioner Dupuy.
No, I would be willing to take on the responsibility. However, with the election coming up and the term nearing the end, it would only be potentially, a month or 2?
Mhm.
Okay, in that case, I'll nominate myself.
Okay.
I can do that.
Are there other nominations? Okay, seeing none, are we ready to move to a vote? Looks like we are. Do you want to do a roll call, City Clerk?
This is to elect Member Dupuy as the vice chair. Member Dupuy?
Yes.
You could have thrown the whole election right there. No.
Member Locke?
Yes.
Member McQuaid?
Yes.
Chair Downs?
Yes. All right. Congratulations, Vice Chair Dupuy. All right. Agenda item 8 is, I assume there's no one signed in online seeking, I should have sought public comment. I should have verified with you first, City Clerk.
No.
Okay. Agenda item 8 is future agenda items, and commissioners announce requests for future agenda items. If there's anything that commissioners would like added to our request for our November meeting.
I would actually. So I'm curious, and I think this requires some representative of the police department to come and explain sort of their, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, policy on how they respond to reports. So I'll give you a for instance of what I mean. Today, my son and his girlfriend were on the Greenway on the BART tracks, laying there looking at clouds. And some concerned citizen walking by thought that my son's girlfriend was, I don't know, unconscious or being assaulted in some way. They were just on the Greenway behind my house. They sent a fire truck, an ambulance, 3 cop cars. It was like this insane response to 2 kids laying on the grass. I'm wondering why it is that we send like all guns blazing to something that was completely innocuous. When the police showed up, they saw that obviously it was just 2 kids laying on the grass looking at clouds. Nothing untoward was going on. But that seems like an excessive response to something as benign as that. So I would be interested to know what triggers a response like that. And if we could have the police speak to that. Because this is not the first time I've known of a response that seems excessive. Now I understand that the police have a responsibility to keep the community safe, but also it's kind of embarrassing and humiliating for this kind of response for something that's nothing, you know? And because we no longer have, you know, the crisis response team or anything like that, to my mind, it would have made more sense to send a patrol car by to check out the scene before sending the entire team over there for nothing. So it would be interesting for me to understand, and I think for the community to understand, what triggers that level of response.
It sounds like whoever made the call thought it was a medical emergency, and had it been a medical emergency, you would want the fire department, the EMTs, to be there. So I think, you know, you have to kind of think about what came to them. You know, oh my God, there's somebody not breathing on the Greenway, as opposed to there's 2 kids hanging out. I think guns blazing might also be a slight exaggeration. I didn't.
You should have seen it. It was a scene.
But were there any guns drawn?
No, I don't mean like that, like literal guns blazing, but I mean they sent everybody and their brother over there. Like, it was excessive. And I understand that, you know, citizens report incidences or whatever, but there's got to be some kind of reasonable response. And our town is small enough that should the responding officer deem it actually medical emergency, we would have someone there, you know, relatively soon. I don't know, it just seems also like an insane waste of our resources. Everybody was over there for nothing. What if something actually was happening somewhere else? I just wonder what the decision-making process is, where you decide to send everybody there.
I thank you, Vice Chair Dupuy. I think I'm conscious that the police will likely not be able to comment on specific incident, but I think, you know, we can record a request for a discussion of the, you know, policy decisions made upon how dispatch, you know, responds to calls of different types and how those get routed. That's other things that people would like to add as future agenda items? You're raising your hand, Commissioner McQuaid. I want to make sure.
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
all right. I wanted to make sure I
I
wasn't. No. You're allowed to twirl your pen. I just wanted to make sure I was not failing to recognize you.
Don't over-respond.
There you go. Other things that we would like as future agenda items. One thing that I would request, we had the presentation at the adoption of the flock camera system. I think that's the correct name for it. And request an update on just how the implementation of that has been. I believe that some are installed and just what the experience is with the data and whether it's proving useful generically. And I think that would be useful for us, since we had the presentation right before they took it to council for a vote on implementation. And I think also a update on where the department stands. I think we've asked iterations of this in the past, but where the department stands now in relation to the former street team, and sort of what is the process for responding to complaints that might have been handled by them in the past, and what our future plans are for responding to calls that seem to be in the range of things that went to them in the past. Any other agenda items we'd like to request? Right, I assume there's no one on waiting to be recognized. All right. Seeing no other, that takes us to item 9, which is our next meeting, which is November 21st, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the same place in City Council Chambers and San Pablo Avenue, and also available online. And that takes us to item 10, which is adjournment. I don't think we need a motion to adjourn, am I right?
Correct, you don't need.
Okay. Then
May I ask a question? Is November 21st Thanksgiving?
I think it's the next.
28th, okay.
That's a fair question. But as someone with a late November birthday, I'm pretty sure it's 28th, not 21st. All right, well then we will look forward to seeing you all November 21, and we stand adjourned until then.